On a Thursday afternoon, a mother and daughter rush back to their apartment in a panic after a disturbing run-in with a stranger. The mother manages to get the encounter on video, but according to her, that recording ended up capturing far more than she bargained for.
I'm sitting here looking at this ring camera footage, and I don't understand how I didn't see this, because this is...
Simultaneously, something else was being recorded at the very same moment. Pay close attention.
I just called the police. Get out front of my door. This is the last time I'm gonna tell you. Get out front of my door right now. The police on the way. Go!
Now, at the time of filming, the mother had absolutely no clue what had just occurred behind her. The door to apartment 23 had opened by itself and remained that way for several seconds before slowly swinging shut. But that alone isn't what's gotten to Jasmine, the mother, so deeply. Just a few days later, she films a follow-up video and points out a detail that makes the whole situation significantly more disturbing.
In the 3 years that I've lived here, I have never seen this door come open. Ever. Like, but in the video, you saw the door just came open. Who opened the door? Like, look at it. Like, pitch black. Like, make it make sense. Like, how? How? I don't know. It don't make sense.
If that door had been locked for years without anyone going in or out, then what caused it to open? She can't explain it, and the deeper she digs into this, the more unsettled she gets.
Just look, watch this. The door comes open.
Now, as strange as everything so far has been, what comes next is easily the most chilling part of this whole story. This is where things take a genuinely dark turn, because after contacting property management and having someone unlock that door, this is what they find.
Okay, yeah, so property management sent somebody up to come take a look, so I'm gonna let him do what he do, and I'm gonna stay back here.
The light works.
You say the light works? Y'all, he said the light works. Oh, Lord. What is that? Y'all. What the hell is going on? Y'all see all these little kids? She had put kid shoes up in there. What the? So how did? So hold on, because no, this other day the door came open when I was in here. So if the door came open, like, Nah, I'm sorry, I'm not. Okay, y'all, so remember that thing? I thought it was a snake. I really thought it was some plastic, but y'all, I'm not gonna get close to this. This is real snake skin. Oh my God. Look at this. You can see, like, ooh. Oh my God. Look at that.
Inside, there's a massive collection of children's shoes piled up, and it's the sheer quantity of them that truly disturbs Jasmine. To her, the implications go far beyond anything paranormal. This could point to something much more serious and frightening. Before she calls the authorities, though, she spots something in her footage that shifts her thinking, convincing her it isn't what she initially feared. Even so, what she notices doesn't exactly bring her any comfort. If anything, it makes the whole thing worse.
I'm looking back at this video that I took with the property manager guy, right? And I noticed something in them pile of shoes. Those frozen Elsa boots, whatever you want to call it, those boots are my daughter's. Like, I'm gonna show y'all a picture that me and my daughter took, like, I want to say like 2 months ago. Yo, this is crazy because I really thought she just lost them at school. Those shoes belongs.
Watching this clip, one question becomes impossible to ignore. How did her daughter's shoes end up mixed in with that pile? Jasmine doesn't have a definitive answer, but she has a theory. After bringing the footage to property management and confirming that the room has sat empty for years, she arrives at a deeply unsettling conclusion.
Somebody in this building must be going around here just collecting shoes. And I'm not gonna say collecting, stealing little kids' shoes around here. I've talked to at least 2 or 3 different people in this building who have said that their children been missing shoes. So I'm thinking that somebody has access to that room and they're going around stealing the shoes and then taking them and putting them in there. They're just putting shoes in the room like it just none of this makes sense to me right now. None of it.
As Jasmine sees it, someone inside the building has been accessing that room and stashing stolen shoes inside it. And even though property management has since cleared out all the shoes and plans to rekey the lock, they advise Jasmine to stay alert. So she decides to set a trap.
I'm finna get to the bottom of this. See these little shoes right here? Put them here as bait, right? On some real cheap shoes, just, little kid shoes or whatever. But what I did was, I got me a plant, right? A little cheap plant too. But look what's inside the plant. Hopefully y'all can see it. Hopefully nobody.
Her thinking is that whoever takes these children's boots and slips into that room must be responsible, and likely the same person who made off with her Ring camera. She records the hallway for 2 straight nights and gets nothing. Then the 3rd night arrives and the camera catches something she wasn't expecting. See for yourself. Inexplicably, one of the boots moves on its own. It appears to bounce off the floor before coming to rest at an angle perpendicular to the other one. Even Jasmine's next-door neighbor was shaken by this, but what the neighbor then shares makes the whole ordeal even more harrowing. She had stepped out of her apartment after hearing what she described as a baby crying just outside her door, only to realize the sound was coming from inside the very room where the shoes had been discovered. Overcome with dread, she turned and went straight back inside, and that's when this happened. Now, whether she genuinely heard an infant crying is difficult to confirm, since no such audio appears anywhere in the footage, but even if she did hear something, it still wouldn't account for how that boot moved on its own. That's the part that haunts Jasmine most, and it's the reason she's gotten rid of the boots entirely. To this day, very little else has come to light about this story, and the absence of any new footage since then doesn't help matters. But as always, until something more concrete surfaces, this one stays firmly in the unsolved column. Deep in the night, a man named Yosa jolted awake and immediately grabbed his phone to document something that had shaken him to his very core. He was babysitting his young niece and nephew that evening, just the 3 of them in the house with no one else around. He later posted the footage to his TikTok. His niece had stirred from her sleep in the early hours, accidentally rousing Yosa in the process, and she was directing her finger towards something in the darkened hallway. Yosa looked over, but there was nothing he could make out. The hallway appeared completely clear. Still, the little girl kept her finger pointed in that direction, her gaze locked and unwavering.
The door is wide open over here, man. Or just, I don't know. She's like looking over there like there's someone over there. She's freaking me out. Look, she's pointing. See? There's someone over there. I'm freaking out. Who are you pointing at? Who is he? How can you keep pointing? Where's he at? Is he over there? Oh, I see. I'm not really sure who it is, but yeah, she's like pointing upwards. They must be tall or something. Look, she's pointing again. Look.
Nothing seemed to be there, and Yosa couldn't decide whether his niece was genuinely seeing something or simply caught between sleep and waking. But the longer she stared into that darkness, the more his unease began to build. What if someone really was lurking there, concealed just beyond what the eye could catch?
Because like, oh no, I'm just babysitting my niece and nephew. My nephew's right here. Then it's her, and then she keeps pointing at something. You gotta get out of here, man. You gotta leave, man. Honestly. You're not welcomed here. Leave. Whoever you are, leave. You're scaring my niece. Look, she keeps pointing at you. Get the fuck out of here, man.
She still wouldn't lower her hand, and that wasn't even the most unsettling detail. She shifted her finger upward, aiming it at the ceiling. That sent a fresh wave of dread through Yosa, as though she was communicating that whatever had her attention was enormous, tall enough to brush the ceiling itself. The atmosphere in the room grew heavier and heavier, and then it happened. Without any warning, an object came hurtling out of the darkness, as if hurled toward them from somewhere in the hallway. Yosa was struck speechless, panic rising fast as the horrible thought set in that they might not be alone in that house. Coming down from an exhausting holiday season, a solo camper from the Channel Camper vibes went looking for some peace and quiet. What she had no idea about was that her chosen destination, Daring Woods near Pluckley, England, carried one of the darkest reputations in the entire country.
And I was hoping to find it here, Daring Woods. Located in the southeast of England, this woodland sits just outside of a little village called Pluckley. Now, completely unknown to me when I arrived, Pluckley is Britain's most haunted village. In fact, with over 14 known ghosts, it has a spot in the Guinness Book of...
Pluckley holds an official Guinness World Record as the most haunted village in Britain. More than a dozen documented spirits, decades worth of unexplained deaths and disappearances. And here she was, alone, deep in the trees, with absolutely no knowledge of any of that.
Is Britain's most haunted village. In fact, with over 14 known ghosts, it has a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records confirming it's the most haunted place in the UK. If I'd have bothered with a quick Google search before I left, I would have seen these concerning articles.
Once darkness settled in, the forest woke up around her. Unsettling screams tore through the tree line. Something circled her hammock for hours, footsteps stopping just outside the fabric of her tent. She made the decision not to switch on her light, certain that whatever was out there had no interest in being found.
Get that fire going, I think. Now I think the rain stopped, or it stopped enough for a fire anyway. Sounds like kids screaming. That's just a train. Is it a bird or is it kids screaming? That's a bird. That's a gunshot. I don't know if you'll be able to hear a lot of this, it's pretty distant, but it sounds like kids screaming. That's just the owls. I didn't want to turn the light on earlier because I swear to God that was footsteps. That's just the owls though. This is definitely the scariest night I've ever had in a tent. I'm sure I can still hear footsteps. And trains.
The sounds weren't wildlife. She'd spent enough time outdoors to recognize deer. She knew what foxes sounded like. This was something else entirely. Deliberate, human. At one point, the entire woodland fell into a dead, total silence. No wind, no animals, nothing at all. By the time morning arrived, rattled and running on no sleep, she finally learned the truth about exactly where she had spent the night.
What on earth?
Some locations don't require ghosts to get under your skin. Sometimes the thing that haunts you most is the presence you never actually laid eyes on. The fact that she went back for a second night is honestly... So, what would you do if you suddenly stumbled upon a stranger sitting alone in the woods in the dead of night? Personally, I'd be proceeding with extreme caution, especially given the kind of content we cover on this channel. Not that we're going to apologize for that, by the way. The person who posted this footage, though, made the decision to keep recording rather than, let's say, get the hell out of there. In the clip, we can see this figure just planted on the ground, completely motionless. At first glance, it appeared to be a shirtless man frozen in place, but as the footage continued, something shifted. Without warning, the figure dropped flat onto the ground and then appeared to slither and crawl away, dissolving into the darkness without producing a single sound. There was no trace of where it went, and whoever was behind the camera was far too frightened to move any closer. Some viewers think this could be the restless spirit of someone who passed away in that very location, still tethered to that spot, while others are convinced it may have been a shapeshifter or some kind of spectral entity. Regardless of what it actually was, the eerie stillness followed by that bizarre exit made the entire encounter feel deeply unsettling. So what do you think it could be? A man makes his way through snow-blanketed streets late at night when something catches his eye, a strange set of prints trailing across the ground. Unable to resist, he follows them. He keeps on the trail, his breathing getting heavier with every step as he closes the distance. Then he arrives at the end of the tracks, and this is what he finds. His blood runs cold the moment it hits him. There's someone out there watching his every move. Filmed by a woman named Alicia on December 21st, 2023, the ordeal began when she heard a series of loud, unsettling thuds coming from her window. Concerned and on edge, she grabbed her phone and started recording. What her camera picked up, though, was something far more disturbing than she ever could have anticipated. A man can be seen repeatedly slamming his head into her window with alarming force. When Alicia draws back the curtain, he briefly stops, locking eyes with her in a dazed, confused stare, before resuming the assault on the glass. The nightmare only deepens when it turns out a pedestrian passing by outside also had their phone out, documenting the chilling scene. Fearing for her own safety, Alicia wasted no time calling the police, who rushed straight to her address. The man showed no signs of stopping, continuing to drive his head into the glass relentlessly, but the moment officers arrived on scene, they pulled him away and brought things under control. Alicia later told authorities she had never encountered the man before in her life. It was evident he was suffering from severe mental instability and was almost certainly under the influence of some kind of substance. He was placed under arrest and transported to the station. Fortunately, Alicia never crossed paths with him again, but the memory of that harrowing night is one she will likely carry with her for a very long time. Dale from Signs and Signals had visited that derelict church more times than he could count. Strange sounds, pockets of freezing air, disembodied whispers, the standard fare. But on December 9th, 2023, he made the error that catches up with every paranormal investigator sooner or later. He went in by himself and started taunting whatever called that place home. He kept escalating, kept pushing, and eventually the church pushed back.
If the real demons are in here, say what's up to the camera. Can you make a sign for me? Can you do something to let me know that you're here? Come on out and show yourself. So you man enough to go ahead and just have me come on back here, but you ain't man enough to do nothing when I'm back here? What's up? You ain't gonna do nothing when I'm back here? That's what I thought. Punk ass bitch. And just keep on knocking, making me come back here, and then you do nothing. So you're obviously just effing with me. And you know, I can F with you back. I can just completely ignore you. You're not even there. I don't even care. You ain't nothing. You ain't never been anything. That's the reason why you're stuck here. Because you suck. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Dude. That was right on the ground. I could feel that rumbling on my feet. What's that supposed to mean, huh? You want me to come back in there? Well, no, I'm not coming back in there. Hell no. No. You stay in there. How about that? I ain't like that. What the hell? Dude. Oh my. There's banging every. It's like chasing me, dude. What the hell? What are you doing? Shut up! Oh, hell no with this. I'm getting out of here. Walk on this bench. What? James!
One sharp knock struck the front door, then another landed behind him, and then the walls themselves joined in. The knocking built into full-on pounding, wrapping around him, pursuing him through the building like something alive was moving just beneath the floorboards, until Dale bolted for the exit. But the moment he reached that cramped 1-meter foyer separating the sanctuary from the outside world, both doors slammed shut around him. He was sealed in a tiny box while everything came apart, walls rattling, doors shaking, the banging escalating into something overwhelming. Dale started screaming for his friend David, who was sitting in the car just outside, and you can hear it in every word he shouts. This wasn't performance, this was raw, genuine terror.
It stopped. Dude, I need to leave. Dude. Oh, shit.
Dale! I can't get it.
Then, silence. Total and immediate, like whatever it was had retreated back into the dark. What you're about to see was captured by a worried mom named Haley, moments after her young son suddenly latched onto her in a panic. Right at that instant, the two of them heard a deep, unsettling growl fill the room.
What is it? Maybe there's nothing in here. There's nothing in here. Okay, I don't see it.
This particular footage has been making the rounds online lately and sparking a lot of debate. Haley had been standing alongside her son when a mysterious sound caused him to freeze in place and clutch her tightly, clearly responding to something his senses picked up but his eyes couldn't locate.
What is it?
A heavy, rumbling growl is audible throughout, and according to Haley, there are no pets of any kind in their home. What pushes this into truly disturbing territory is the moment the visibly shaken child spots something odd in the mirror, a strange, dark shape lurking in the reflection.
Right there.
When investigators examine the angle of that reflection, they conclude the shadow appears to originate from underneath the bed. That would place some kind of presence directly below where they were standing at that very moment. Whether it belonged to a person, an animal, or something that defies easy explanation is impossible to determine. But the reaction from both of them tells its own story. Haley and her son were not the only ones in that room, and their visible terror points to an instinctive awareness of something unseen nearby. Some people have written the video off as a setup, as tends to happen with footage of this nature, but Haley has consistently maintained her account, insisting that something unknown was hiding beneath that bed, and that neither she nor her child had any idea what it was. So, where do you stand on this? A flesh and blood intruder, or something that doesn't have such a simple answer? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. Hei Xiaomin is a woman who has been dealing with a series of unsettling incidents around her home. Things like objects dropping on their own and the same disturbing dreams showing up night after night. She suspects it all traces back to a Ouija board she messed around with during her college years. She also brought home a Daruma doll she discovered while at college. And one night she's jolted awake by the sound of screaming, so she grabs her phone and starts filming. Here's what her camera recorded.
I just woke up. I heard someone screaming outside my window. Oh my god. What? There's a guy out there and he's just staring out my window. What is he doing? What the hell? Is he staring at me? What the fuck? Oh my god, I think there's something fucking in my room. I don't know.
She spots a figure outside right before her closet door swings open on its own, and something tumbles out, sending her sprinting to her car. But that's when she notices something or someone staring back at her through the window. Then, on a separate night, she captures another moment so terrifying it has her bolting from the house all over again.
What the shit? Oh my god.
something can be seen shifting beneath the sofa, but when she works up the nerve to investigate, there's nothing there, and the gap under the furniture is far too narrow for any person to squeeze into. Then, just seconds later, a figure materializes next to the curtains, and that's all He Xiaoming needs to get out of there. She hasn't shared a single update since. The channel you're looking at right now has only 2 videos posted, and both of them will make your skin crawl. They were recorded by an indoor home security camera. In the video description, the uploader explains that he's been crashing in the living room for some time, and that strange occurrences have started happening while he sleeps.
Babe. Babe. Babe.
He jolts awake in a total panic and scrambles downstairs. But this is where things take a dark turn. Right at the moment he's descending the stairs, a whispered voice can be heard saying, "Come down." He claims he has absolutely no idea what caused him to wake up. But when he later heard that whisper in the playback, it shook him to his core, and the incidents didn't stop there. What unfolded on a separate night was even harder to explain. As he lies there sleeping, something latches onto his leg and yanks. You can watch him snap awake, completely disoriented, struggling to understand what just occurred. Nobody else appears in the footage, and there's no visible explanation for what could have caused it. Sadly, there's very little background information on the property, nothing about its history or any prior reported activity. What's notable is that everything seems to be concentrated in the living room and exclusively while he's unconscious. So what's your take on what's actually happening here? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Beast Runners is a channel operated by Peter Novotny, a Czech trail runner who makes his home in Taiwan. Peter and his crew are well known for putting together trail running competitions throughout Taiwan's mountain ranges, including the widely recognized Formosa Trail. But organizing races is only part of the story. Peter has also built a reputation for something far more sobering, tracking down missing hikers. And this particular search would bring him face to face with one of the most chilling discoveries of his career. On July 17th, Jitu, a hiker was reported missing somewhere in the Ghoulman mountain region of Taiwan. Security camera footage confirmed he had stepped onto the Marlin Mountain Trail at around 8 in the morning, a detail corroborated by his own Instagram activity. By the time Peter was able to join the search effort, the man had already been gone for 5 nights. Maloon Mountain is counted among the 7 heroes of Ghoulman, a well-loved hiking destination with clearly defined trails. The route is straightforward, and Peter found it hard to believe the hiker would have gotten disoriented on the way back, yet the cell phone data told a completely different story. The last recorded signal tower hit was at 11:42 a.m., followed by a long silence, then the same tower again at 5:55 p.m., and continuing through 10 a.m. the following day. Running the data through the NetMonster app, Peter confirmed that the final tower ping had originated from an elevation above 2,000 meters. This is where Peter's years of mountain experience made all the difference. The missing hiker had no habit of downloading offline maps, a fatal oversight, and Peter's read on the situation was that the man had gotten turned around at the summit and headed east rather than west, pushing deeper into the wilderness toward Bagal Mountain. After several days stranded on a ridge with no water access, there would have been only one rational option: drop down into a side creek in search of something to drink. Peter pored over old maps and satellite images, then drew a line on his GPS watch marking the North Ridge, flagging a steep creek in red as both a navigation guide and a safety boundary.
Jerry!
Peter arrived at the junction with the main river at 1,700 meters elevation. Rather than following conventional logic and heading downstream, he pushed upstream instead, and that's when something extraordinary stopped him in his tracks. An enormous swarm of butterflies, numbering in the hundreds.
Wow. Jerry!
Peter secured the body near the riverbank and got word to his team. After more than 2 hours of back and forth with the fire department, the captain determined that weather conditions made a helicopter flight impossible that day. Concerned that incoming rain could delay the recovery even further, Peter made the difficult call to return and fasten the body more firmly in place. It was grim, grueling work, but it had to be done. The following day, at around 11 a.m., the helicopter was finally able to carry out the recovery. This case throws two deadly and recurring mistakes into sharp relief. The first is heading into the mountains without offline map apps or any reliable navigation tools. The second is failing to do basic research before setting out. The swarm of butterflies drawn to that spot created an almost otherworldly scene, a beautiful, terrible signal pointing straight to tragedy. It's a deeply unsettling reminder that nature draws no line between the breathtaking and the horrific. That's exactly why preparation isn't optional. Learn the maps, load a GPS app, tell someone your precise route, and never convince yourself that a trail is too well marked to lose. The mountains show no mercy, and a single wrong turn can carry you into terrain where the only people coming for you are the ones searching for your remains. A TikTok creator who goes by Jordan typically shares everyday moments from her life online, and while most of her content is pretty unremarkable, one particular clip is unlike anything else she's posted. Late on a January night, Jordan was unwinding at home in front of the TV when she casually flipped open Snapchat to record a quick video for a friend. But mid-recording, a sudden chill ran through her body, one she couldn't make sense of. Something caught her attention just at the edge of her vision. As Jordan slowly pans her camera to the left, a deeply unsettling sight comes into view. A small, dark figure lurking in the hallway. The shadowy shape shot out of her room and disappeared across the hall. Jordan managed to catch a brief glimpse of it peeking out from her roommate Shifra's doorway into the corridor. And what makes the whole thing even more disturbing is that at the time, she believed she was completely alone in the house. Or so she thought. Ghost hunter Abdullah Al-Anbari makes a habit of exploring allegedly haunted locations throughout Saudi Arabia, broadcasting his adventures to viewers in real time via Snapchat. On this particular occasion, he sets his sights on a place with a deeply unsettling reputation in local paranormal circles, a site known simply as the House of the Devil. Needless to say, things don't stay calm for long.
بسم الله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. لا بسم الله صوت غريب يا جماعة. بسم الله ايش فينا؟ بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله 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 الرحمن الرحيم. ايش اللي سوى هنا؟ استغفر الله العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. بسم الله بسم الله
Eventually, Abdullah decides he's had more than enough and makes his exit from the property for good. So, was something supernatural at work here? Or is there a more rational explanation behind the mystery? This footage was originally shared on the TikTok account Amaraso, captured at around 3 in the morning on March 2nd. An entire family was sound asleep when one woman suddenly got the overwhelming sensation that something was pounding heavily directly beneath her from under the floor. She tried to brush it off at first, convincing herself it was probably just her mind playing tricks, but the banging only intensified. Shaking with fear, she nudged her husband awake and whispered, "There's something making a strange noise."
Johnny, están tocando.
Huh?
Están tocando.
¿Quién es?
Nadie, duérmete, mi amor.
¿Están tocando?
Sí.
Sí, no manches.
Escucha.
Otra vez, güey. A ver, dame.
Sí.
A ver, aguanta. Espérame aquí, aguántame.
Sí.
No manches. Otra vez no. Son las 3 de la mañana, gente. Son casi las 3 de la mañana.
He was just as frightened and had no desire to investigate, but after a brief moment, he managed to pull himself together and headed downstairs. The instant he stepped into the area, the pounding went completely silent. He scanned the space thoroughly, and there was nobody to be found. That is, until he spotted something from behind a parked car. A dark, shapeless figure, like a shadow, locked onto him with what felt like a direct stare.
¿Qué quieres? ¿Qué es lo que quieres? Deja de molestar. Quiero que te largues. ¿Qué es eso? Oh, no manches. Oh, no manches. ¡Ceci! ¡Ceci!
The moment he clocked it, fear took over and he bolted back up the stairs. And as soon as he made it back to the room, the knocking resumed. Heavy, hollow thuds, as though something straight out of a nightmare was desperately trying to force its way out. Next up, we join investigator Ala Ghanem as he makes his way through the crumbling remains of a derelict psychiatric facility in Jordan. This institution ran throughout the 1990s before its doors were permanently closed in 2001, after widespread accounts of brutal mistreatment, abusive staff, and patients being left to starve. There's a school of thought that says extreme human suffering soaks into the walls of a place and never truly leaves, and as a law moves through the corridor, the building appears to stir to life. See for yourself what the camera picked up.
محمد لا إله هم يبون يا أخي شنو شو اللي قاعد يصير شو اللي قاعد يصير شو اللي قاعد يصير شو اللي قاعد يصير هنا
The mood changes in an instant. What we're seeing isn't simply loose plaster or settling debris. Solid objects are actually being knocked free from the ceiling, and one of them connects directly with his head. But things escalate dramatically once he steps into what used to be the patient intake area. This is the moment everything changed.
أبو محمد أبو محمد أبو محمد أبو محمد أبو محمد لا 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 شو اللي قاعد يصير هنا أبو محمد الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم لا تأخذه سنة ولا نوم له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض من ذا الذي يشفع عنده إلا بإذنه يعلم ما بين أيديهم وما خلفهم ولا يحيطون بشيء من علمه إلا بما شاء وسع كرسيه السماوات والأرض ولا يؤوده حفظهما وهو العلي العظيم أبو محمد عرفتوا؟
By every law of physics, a heavy object resting at that angle should remain exactly where it is, pinned in place by its own weight against the wall. Yet, we watch it begin to move, rocking slowly side to side as though something unseen is sizing it up, before it gets hurled violently onto the floor. No stray breeze carries enough force to send a solid wooden door crashing like that. So, what's the explanation here? An old building playing tricks with the wind? Or are the souls of those mistreated patients still carrying a deep rage toward the living? In November 2022, a security guard uploaded footage to the channel Creepy Mac documenting a deeply unsettling overnight shift at a deserted school. What started as a standard patrol quickly turned into something he was completely unprepared to face. The clip opens with him moving through pitch dark, vacant corridors. Then, out of nowhere, a door slams itself shut.
Yun. Ibutan ko iba na yun. So yan guys, ito yung trabaho ko guys. Napaka delikado. So yan, nakita nyo, diba? Biglang sumira yung pinto. So nakabahan ako guys. Anong gagawin ko? So grabe yung ano ko, tumindig yung balahibo ko. So ito, hindi ko alam kung pagpatuloy ko pa to kasi yan guys, ano ba to, so wala tayong magagawa guys, dadaan. So check natin yung kinakabahan mo guys. Guys, narinig mo yun? Check natin guys kung ano yung...
He goes to investigate, and that's when something stops him cold. An electric fan running on its own, sitting in an empty classroom in the dead of night, with nobody there to have switched it on.
Ayun guys na naka-on yung ano, yan. Ito na. Yun guys, so yung kita niyo yung mga bangko. Yun guys. Yan, walang tao dyan guys ha. Tapos yung electric fan sa itaas. Yan o. Parang may kakaiba talaga dito guys. Yan, kita niyo. Yan guys o. Yan guys. Kita niyo. Yan guys o. Kita niyo. So, grabe yung so, kailangan natin i-off yung ano. Grabe, nakakatakot dito guys, sobra. So, check natin.
He continues through the building, his camera trembling, his nerves clearly unraveling. Every darkened corner feels threatening. Every shadow seems to be hiding something.
Ito yung trabaho ko guys. Grabe. Sobra nakakatakot guys. Grabe yung tindig ng balahibo ko. Sobra. Ayan. So yan. Kita nyo naman guys yung guys oh. Yan. Yan. Ito yan guys. Yan. So try natin i-off yung ano kasi naka-on yan naka-on yan, so try natin i-off natin yan. Grabe ano okay. Yan guys oh. Kita mo.
To this day, nobody has been able to explain what activated that fan or what forced that door shut. Could it have been a wiring fault, a stray draft, or something that still roams those halls long after the last student has gone home? One guard, one abandoned school, and the overwhelming sense that he was never truly alone. Creepy dolls are easily among the most unsettling things imaginable. Yet, for Enrique Grossi, a paranormal enthusiast hailing from Brazil, they hold an almost irresistible fascination. He spent years building up his collection, and as far as he's concerned, the more disturbing a doll looks, the more it belongs on his shelf. That said, a particular piece he stumbled upon recently at an antique store has been pushing Enrique well past his comfort zone. For several nights running, he's been picking up strange sounds coming from the room where he keeps his collection. Living alone, there's no one else to blame, and when the noises start up again late one evening, he decides to grab his phone and get it on video. What the camera picks up looks like it was ripped straight from the pages of a horror script. Enrique's blood runs cold as a dark, shadowy figure slowly edges out from behind one of his eerie dolls. The moment he sees it, he doesn't hesitate. He's out the front door and on his way to a friend's place for the night. When he comes back the following morning, there's no trace of whatever appeared on that footage, though the doll remains sitting in the exact same spot he left it. A lot of people believe the relentless noises disturbing Enrique each night were a warning sign. Something connected to that doll trying to claw its way through. Now that it's shown itself, there's little reason to think it'll simply retreat. Here's hoping Enrique makes the smart call and gets rid of that thing, because if he doesn't, he may soon find out he's no longer living alone. A chilling clip was uploaded to TikTok by a young man who shot the footage in Salvador. He explains that on that particular evening, he and several friends had gone out to attend a music festival together. As he pointed his camera at the crowd making their way toward the venue, it picked up something bizarre that nobody around him noticed at the time. The footage was then slowed down for a closer look. Out of nowhere, a young man materializes in the gap between two trucks. And when you really study that space, it becomes clear just how impossibly tight it was. There simply wasn't enough room for a person to be standing there. So what's your take on this? Our first clip of the day comes from a TikTok user by the name of VCD, who we see recording from inside his vehicle as he pulls up to a house, where he immediately gets the sense that something isn't right. Almost instantly, the guy behind the camera is visibly shaken when he realizes the stove has been switched on with no explanation. He tries to take a breath and calm himself down, but he barely gets the chance because that's when things escalate.
Why is that on? Why was that damn door? That door was not shut.
Without any warning, a door swings shut on its own, leaving the uploader completely stunned. Clearly on edge, he shouts out in frustration, "Who are you? What do you want?" Almost certainly not expecting any kind of response, and yet one comes.
Who are you? What do you want? I'm out.
An eerie, sourceless voice can be heard answering him with a single bone-chilling word: leave.
Leave.
The footage wraps up with the man doing precisely that, bolting out of the house without so much as a glance behind him. This video was uploaded to TikTok just a little over a month ago, so with any luck, a follow-up is coming. It's an undeniably strange and deeply unsettling situation, to put it mildly. Skeptics could argue that the stove or the door might have had some kind of mechanical fault, but that unmistakable voice, up close and clear as day, telling him to get out. That's what takes this whole thing somewhere far harder to explain. If it actually happened the way it appears, it's not the kind of moment you ever really shake off. Instagram user Noah Nafasan made the kind of decision that every experienced paranormal investigator will tell you to avoid. He went ahead and bought a replica of the notorious Annabelle doll. If you're not familiar with the story, the original Annabelle is a cursed Raggedy Ann doll locked away behind glass at the Warrens Occult Museum, connected to a string of deeply unsettling hauntings over the years. Replicas, however, are believed to carry their own sinister energy, essentially acting as beacons that draw in supernatural forces. Noah had his replica proudly on display inside a glass cabinet in his kitchen, with no idea what kind of trouble he was welcoming into his life. He claims the disturbances kicked in almost right away, things moving on their own, lights going on and off, unexplained cold air moving through the rooms. Then, on October 5th, 2025, his home security camera caught something that's hard to explain away. In the unsettling footage, the cabinet door slowly swings open on its own, exposing the Annabelle replica sitting perfectly still inside, positioned as though it's surveying the room with full awareness. Shortly after, someone, presumably Noah, walks over to shut the door, but before he gets the chance, an object on a nearby table moves across the surface with no one anywhere near it. Sensing that something invisible is sharing the space with him, Noah takes off out of the kitchen in a panic. The doll, meanwhile, doesn't move an inch. That sewn-on smile still fixed in place, those hollow eyes staring straight ahead, almost as if it's savoring every second of the terror it's created. Paranormal specialists caution that imitation haunted dolls can function as physical anchors for spirits, giving them a foothold inside a living space. By welcoming this Annabelle replica into his home, Noah may have done far more than add a creepy decoration. He may have extended an open invitation to something genuinely dark to settle in and stay. The following video was captured one night. While a lady was staying at a cabin for her sister's birthday, this woman noticed something across from her. A small, abandoned structure elevated off the ground, its front door already hanging open in the dark. She described it herself as looking like a treehouse for kids, except there was nothing playful about it. Curious, she climbed the rotting wooden steps, tried the light switch inside, nothing, and began scanning the cluttered, dusty room with her phone's light.
Me estoy quedando en una cabaña por el cumpleaños de mi hermana y enfrente hay como una cabaña así, como pero abandonada, chiquita. Y es como una casita del árbol, así como para niños, no sé. No sé, pero se ve muy tenebroso. No sé si se vaya a caer esto porque está como todo podrido. Y no veo como para encender las luces ni nada. Mira, allá está la cabaña. Y... No tiene luz. Hay como una mesa, hay ganchitos de ropa y televisor.
What erupts at the end of that clip is a sound that doesn't belong to anything human, sharp, piercing, and distorted in a way that immediately sends her camera swinging. Sideways. Whatever it was, it cut the footage off completely. And we still don't know what was in that cabin with her. The following clips were all recorded by the same man, inside the same garage, a cluttered maintenance shed sitting directly beside a cemetery, and whatever has been happening in. That building has been escalating fast. He's been capturing strange sounds, unexplained smells, objects ending up on the floor with no clear explanation, and more than once, he's described a feeling like something in. That space actively doesn't want him to leave. It started with an unnerving sound he can barely bring himself to describe. He'd just finished locking up for the day, had the lights off, and was heading out, when he heard what he could only call a laugh, disembodied, strange, coming from the direction of an old orange mower parked at the back of the garage. He grabbed his phone and went back inside to document it. Watch.
Alright, so I was just closing this up, like just locking it up to head out, and I closed the bay and I was closing this door. I shut the lights off, get ready to close this door, and heard, I swear I heard a laugh, and it was the most unnerving, and it was such a weird laugh. It sounded like it was coming from that back mower, like something was sitting on that back mower. I should have left it alone. I don't even know what that was, where it came from, where it went. But I'm not sticking around to find out, so I'm out of here. Screw this. I'm out of here. I am not sticking around.
Right in the middle of him recounting that laugh, a sudden, violent metallic crash erupts somewhere off camera, loud, sharp, echoing through the concrete floor, and he can't find what fell or where it came from. His breathing goes heavy, he backs toward the exit, and he gets out. What makes it harder to dismiss is that nothing is visible on the floor when the camera sweeps the area, no object, no cause, nothing at all. For some viewers, that crash alone was enough. But it wasn't a one-time thing. He came back. This next clip was recorded during a live stream in the same garage, and right from the start something felt off. He kept mentioning a foul smell he couldn't identify. Something like sulfur mixed with decay, and he'd noticed the garage sits right next to a cemetery with a church steeple visible just beyond the headstones through the back window. He was mid-sentence talking to his viewers when this happened. Watch.
I really do. Good evening from Australia. Hey Rachel, good evening. I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah, maybe put phone away from wrench. Yeah, I don't want to come back to a broken phone. Please go get some price. Yeah, I'm gonna go out. Oh God, it smells almost like a skunk mixed with decay and eggs or something. Asked a priest to bless this place. Yeah, actually, I'll show you guys quick. If you could see, there's actually a church right over there on the other side of the fence. I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's not affiliated with the cemetery, but are you working alone? Yes. I run this place alone. Hello, Caroline. Thank you, I appreciate it. Oh God, that smell. It's like right in front. Oh my God. All right, guys. All right, I don't want to get into that. All right, guys, I gotta go. Oh, shit.
His phone was knocked clean out of his hand by an unseen force, the camera spins, clatters to the concrete, and goes dark. When he picks it up again, his voice is shaken, and he ends the stream almost immediately. That sulfur-like smell he kept describing is worth pausing on, because in a wide range of paranormal traditions, across cultures that don't share much else, a rotten egg or sulfuric odor has long been associated with the presence of something malevolent. It's one of those details that doesn't get staged easily, and it keeps coming up in this garage specifically. Then he came back a third time, this time arriving at dusk after spotting what he could only describe as a ball of light moving in front of the garage window from outside. He unlocked the door and went in with his phone rolling. Watch closely.
So I just pulled in. As I was just backing in, I saw either I don't know, some kind of light was in front of this window. And it wasn't like the lights were on in there. It was like a flashlight or I don't know what it was. But I want to start recording as soon as I get it. It was definitely that window. And it wasn't all the light. It wasn't all the lights. All the lights weren't on. It was like I don't know if it was a flashlight or it was like, I don't know. It was like a little ball of light, but it was also had like rays or beams coming from I don't know how to describe it, but it was like a flashlight shine or flashlight shine or something. Good morning. I see this is on.
that's where that rotten egg smell was emanating from, was that spot over there. So I have no idea if it's related or not, but I had no idea what that ball of light or whatever that light source was. That's why I wanted you to camera in here and keep it recording 24/7.
Two separate crashes happen while he's inside. The first produces a sledgehammer lying on the concrete floor that he insists was sitting on a wooden table, and the second is another hard clatter from a different part of the garage entirely. After each one, he addresses the garage directly, calm but deliberate, saying good morning as if he already suspects what or who is responsible. He mentions that during a previous live stream, a viewer who claimed to be a medium said he'd watched an older man in overalls working at the garage's workbench, and that the rotten egg smell had been strongest in that exact spot. He can't confirm it, but he says he can't rule it out either. That detail hangs over everything. The activity didn't stay in the garage though. That's what makes this next clip so unsettling. Back inside his house, he was walking through the living room with his phone out, trying to capture the sound of footsteps he kept hearing on the basement stairs, when something else happened entirely. Take a look.
Alright guys, so I just was hearing the walking on the basement steps again. I want to see if I catch it. See if it does it again. It was 4 times. I don't know if it was up, down. It sounded like up, down, up, down. It was right, literally right as I was making coffee. I started hearing it, and it was just, like I said, I heard it 4 times. That's how you do it. Let's take the coffee, I swear. Knocking on this door.
A black slotted spoon is thrown from somewhere off camera left and clatters loudly across the kitchen floor. He goes completely silent. Before that, there were animalistic grunts and snorts audible in the room, wet, low, and deeply unnatural, sounds that don't match anything in the environment. The thrown object is the kind of moment that tends to shift a haunting into a different category for a lot of people. When furniture creaks or doors move, skeptics reach for drafts and settling foundations. But a utensil thrown across a kitchen floor with force and direction, that's harder to explain away with environmental causes. Some would call it poltergeist activity, a term borrowed from German meaning noisy ghost, traditionally used to describe kinetic disturbances that seem targeted rather than random, as if whatever is present wants to be noticed. Then came the moment that clearly shook him the most. He arrived at the garage again at dusk and went inside to find a misty gray figure, shaped like a man, back turned, standing in the space. He yelled and the figure collapsed inward, disappearing as if pulled through a single point in the air. He described it as being sucked into a pinhole. He started filming immediately after, voice still unsteady, walking through what just happened. Listen closely.
Alright guys, so I just had something that I cannot explain. I just saw somebody. I literally just fucking saw somebody. I came in, did my normal, Jesus Christ. I came in, did my normal stuff, opened the doors, turned the lights on, set my bag, oh Jesus. Set my bag and coffee over there. Came, and opened this bay door, turned around, and there was somebody standing there with their back to me. And my reaction, like, at first I was like, hey, like greeting somebody, but then like instantly I realized there's not supposed to be anybody else here. So it turned to like a hey, and then like a scream. I had not yelled like that, and I can't remember the last time I yelled like that. And when I yelled, this thing just like vanished into itself, like it was sucked into a little pinhole, like it just shoop. And it had its back to me, but it looked like it was slightly starting to turn its head when I yelled. And it was a man, but it was not like dark or like a black shadow. It was like grayish. It was like a misty gray, but I could make out that it was a male. And it, holy, I was literally right in front of this mower. Because like I said, I opened that bay and looked, and it just, oh my God, I need cameras in here. I swear, I was not further than this mower here. You're not welcome here. Any negative or evil spirits, you're not welcome. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. He protects me. His light shines around me and my property and my space. You're not allowed here. You're not allowed to follow me home. You're not allowed to attach to me. You're not welcome. Please find your peace. The Lord's light surrounds me and everywhere I go. Holy shit.
While he's mid-sentence describing the figure vanishing, a hacksaw crashes from somewhere off to his right and hits the concrete floor with a loud clang. He stops, goes still, and then he begins speaking directly to whatever is in that garage, warning it, invoking protection, telling it in no uncertain terms that it's not welcome and it's not allowed, to follow him home. His voice is trembling as he says it. The figure he described, grayish, misty, solid enough to be mistaken for a real person at first glance, doesn't fit neatly into any single tradition. It's not a classic shadow person, which typically appears fully dark. Some viewers familiar with crisis apparitions, a phenomenon where a spirit appears in a recognizable human form at a location tied to its life or death, pointed to that. Description immediately. Others think the proximity to the cemetery is the whole explanation, that working that close to that much concentrated grief and loss leaves a door open that most people don't even realize is there. Whatever the answer is, this man is still going back to that garage, and based on what's been caught across these 5 clips, like and subscribe if you're enjoying watching this video. Nothing in that building has shown any sign of stopping. In this next clip, a man is conducting what looks like a deliberate paranormal investigation inside a dimly lit room, the kind of space that already feels like it's holding something back, with a vintage doll propped near a wardrobe, old teacups crammed inside a glass cabinet, and a large cross drawn in red directly on the wall. He's arranged a collection of small spherical trigger objects, motion-sensitive devices used in ghost hunting that flash when something disturbs the air around them, across the top of the cabinet in what looks like a very intentional setup. Watch.
Îndrăznind aler la milostivirea ta cu frică și cu cutremur. Cu cutremur, mă. Ia! Cât am greșit ție. Băi, fii atent. Vai de capul meu. Ia, că-o căzut tot. Ia, că-o căzut tot bastoanele, o căzut tot, băi, omule, băi. Ia bastonul.
Ia bastonul din smântână, de unde? Că nu mai este niciun baston, nimic. Gata e. E gata e.
Ia vezi și pune poate dispărut. Vezi, aici.
Nu ai mă, să dea draci dacă e ceva, tu ești nebun.
Adi, voi colo baba bastonul iar. Lasă-o în pizdă, mă.
Nu ai frate niciun baston,
Ia
nimic.
vezi că bag lumina pe partea asta.
Ia.
Bagă și după aia, bagă și după asta.
Na, că nu-i nimic.
Nimic, a?
Nimica, frate, dispărut bastonul, iar gata.
Și de desubt acolo? Nimic. Nici acolo nu.
Uite păpușa asta deșurat.
Eu preot.
Uitați-o cu dulapul cum se mișcă singur, mă, frate, tu ești nebun. Ah! Unde-s, măi? Nu-i niciun baston. Uite. Uite țăpă ăsta, uite. Niciun baston, nimic. Uite. 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 Uite cade bila jos, acum. Uite dulap, care se mișcă singur, uite, nu-i legat cu nimic, uite. Uite. Voi sunteți nebuni, băi, noi când v-am zis că, băi, nu mai există, gata, încăpere. Nu mai există încăpere, ca să știți. Noi suntem numărul 1, suntem. Ai de mine, ce-a fost asta? Ce-a fost asta?
E jale, mâncați așa.
Stay calm. Stay calm. Stay calm.
Calm down.
Dat cu ce-o dat.
Hai, au reușit, stați calmi. Gata, a terminat-o, hai.
Stai calm.
La bătaie pe tăi. Adă bastonul ca înapoi. Trebuie să fac carte aici, să nu fii. Portal îmi trebuie. Portalul îmi trebuie.
E sub dulap baston. Băi.
What you're seeing from those little spheres isn't random blinking, they're lighting up in sequence, blue then red, sometimes responding right as a hand enters the frame, other times flashing on their own with nothing visibly nearby. Skeptics would point out that these devices are notoriously sensitive to vibrations and air movement, which could explain the pattern. But others think the drawn cross on the wall and the overall arrangement suggests someone who believes they're communicating with something already present in that room. Whether the lights are responding to a draft or something else entirely, that's a question this footage doesn't answer. Now, in this next clip, a man filming alone at night inside his home starts his video in a state of visible panic, wide eyes, shaky hands, heavy breathing, pointing his phone at something high up on the wall that he says appeared about 5 minutes earlier. He's speaking in Spanish, his voice trembling, and the fear in it is hard to fake. Watch.
Quiero que vean esto. Hace como 5 minutos comenzó a asomarse y salgo y no hay nada. Y miren, ahí está otra vez. ¿Qué mierda? Dios mío.
High on the wall, tucked inside a small square recessed opening, there's a face. Pale, discolored, completely still, dark patches for eyes, a faint mouth, pressed against what looks like a thin plastic film covering the opening. He pans away, checks the hallway, and when he comes back, it's still there. He zooms in close and whispers something that translates roughly to "what the hell." Some viewers think it's a mannequin head placed there deliberately. Others aren't so sure, because who puts a face inside their own wall and then films themselves terrified by it? That question is what makes this one linger. The following video was shared by a woman who's genuinely searching for answers, hoping that someone out there might recognize the signs of what she's dealing with. For a while now, she's noticed a very specific and unsettling pattern involving her dog. Almost every single day, around the same time, her 6-month-old puppy suddenly starts barking intensely at one exact direction in the house. Not just casual barking, but focused, alert, almost defensive barking. What makes this strange is that about 5 minutes later, he suddenly stops, goes completely quiet, and then immediately looks around for her as if checking whether she noticed it too. This routine has repeated itself night after night, always the same direction, always the same behavior. One evening, she was sitting calmly when her dog climbed onto her lap, chewing on a bone, relaxed and content. Suddenly, this happened. Some believe he could be reacting to subtle sounds we can't hear, like changes in air pressure, pipes, or even wildlife outside the walls. But others weren't convinced, especially because of how consistent the timing is and how focused his attention seems to be. As for solutions, viewers offered a wide range of ideas. Some advised checking the space thoroughly for logical explanations, vents, rodents, or structural noises, just to rule them out. A few suggested cleansing the space, whether spiritually or simply by changing the energy in the room, while many stressed one thing above all else: pay attention to the dog. Because whatever he's reacting to it every night, at the same time, in the same place. And until she figures out why, this situation remains deeply unsettling and very much unexplained. This next clip was recorded inside Selma Mansion in Norristown, Pennsylvania, a location that many locals already avoid after dark. The mansion has long been surrounded by rumors, stories of former residents who never really left, reports of unexplained footsteps echoing through empty hallways, doors slamming on their own, and voices heard coming from rooms no one has entered in years. Some say the upper floors are the worst, especially the third floor, where people claim the air suddenly feels heavier and breathing becomes difficult for no reason. On March 29, 2025, a group of urban explorers decided to investigate the mansion for themselves. Despite knowing its reputation, they went in prepared, setting up multiple cameras throughout the house before settling in for the night. While placing equipment in other areas of the mansion, a loud bang suddenly echoed through the building, sharp enough to stop everyone in their tracks. When they checked the footage, they realized the sound came from the bathroom on the third floor, where one of the cameras had been left running. Watch closely. Skeptics argued it could be old pipes, structural shifts, or even wind, but that explanation doesn't easily account for the voice, the pacing of the footsteps, or the very human-sounding breath caught on audio. And considering this happened on the third floor, an area already known for activity, many believe the explorers may have wandered into a space where whatever lingers there doesn't like being watched. So, was this just the mansion settling? Or did Selma Mansion make it very clear that they weren't alone that night? You decide. In this next video, a man believes he's being tormented by something far more sinister than a simple haunting, something he's convinced is a demon living inside his home. And honestly, after seeing everything he's documented, it's hard not to understand why he feels that way. For months now, he says he'll leave the house for work or errands, only to return and find it completely trashed. Tables flipped upside down, chairs thrown across rooms, kitchen equipment scattered across the floor as if someone deliberately went through the house in a rage. One night, while recording a video to explain what he's been experiencing, things suddenly escalated. Watch this.
Guys, so it's been very horrible. I have been experiencing some non-stop shit. You gotta be kidding me. What the shit? What the is that sound? What the Did I know they not just move? I know that did not just move, y'all. Oh, fuck! Shit! Oh, shit! In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, I ask every demon to leave my house immediately. Immediately. I want every demon to leave this house immediately. Immediately. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Leave my house now. The was that? I swear to God, and guys, this is crazy. Swear to God. What the shit! Holy shit! Oh shit! Holy shit! Holy I'm getting the out of here. No shit.
This isn't subtle movement or quiet noises in the background. When something moves, it moves hard. If it rocks a chair, it does so violently. If it rattles a door, it slams and shakes it with force. Viewers quickly began weighing in with their theories. Some believe this could be a case of a highly aggressive poltergeist feeding off fear and emotional stress. Others argue that the destructive nature, the escalation, and the way the activity responds directly to him speaking points to something darker, possibly a demonic attachment rather than a spirit tied to the house itself. As for solutions, people urged him to stop engaging altogether, to avoid provoking whatever it is. Some warned that labeling it a demon could make things worse, but others believe he may already be past that point. So what do you think? Is this truly a demon, or is there another explanation behind the violence in his home? Now, doll collectors are often misunderstood. To most people, collecting dolls sounds harmless, nostalgic, even comforting. But what many don't realize is that some collectors actively seek out dolls with history. Dolls that were loved intensely, abandoned suddenly, passed through multiple owners, or tied to trauma. In this clip, a woman who openly documents her collection of dolls with deep and unsettling backstories shares what happened after acquiring a particularly infamous one. The doll is known as Raggedy Ann Janet, located in the UK and already surrounded by disturbing rumors long before she ever laid eyes on it. Previous owners had reportedly complained about unexplained noises, object shifting, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched, especially at night. Despite the warnings, she felt drawn to Janet and eventually brought the doll into her home. Almost immediately, she began noticing classic poltergeist-style activity. Objects would move without explanation. Doors creaked open on their own, and the most unsettling part, these events didn't feel random. They felt deliberate, as if something was testing boundaries, pushing limits, and making its presence known. Despite knowing all these, she wanted to confirm.
So Janet's been with us for a few days. Bobby's dropped her off. A few things have been moving around this room lately. Janet, is it you that's doing it? Oh my god, thank you.
For her, the signs were enough. Janet wasn't just another piece in her collection. Something about this doll felt active, aware, and intrusive. And now the question remains, is Janet simply an object carrying residual energy from past owners? Or did bringing her home invite something that was never meant to follow? Either way, the activity surrounding this doll has left viewers deeply unsettled. And until more updates are shared, this case continues to raise an uncomfortable question about how much of the past we unknowingly invite into our homes. This next video is an update from the same man who previously shared how everything in his apartment changed the moment he brought a set of old toys home. Watch closely.
Se sigue escuchando, la verdad ya no soporto estar aquí. Ya no aguanto. ¿Qué será? No hay nada, raza. Esto ya se está saliendo de control, raza. Ya no puedo estar aquí, raza.
As he moves through the apartment trying to locate the source of the noise, a figure is briefly caught on camera. Even though something in him feels like the toys are connected, he wants clearer proof, something undeniable. But viewers say the signs have been there all along. For example, take a look at one of the nights he couldn't sleep at all.
Raza, son las 3 de la mañana, se siguen escuchando muchos ruidos allá afuera. Quieren abrir la puerta, raza. ¿Qué está pasando? Ay, Dios mío. Ay, Dios mío, líbrame del mal. Desde que compré ese espejo, raza. Ay.
What worries him the most is that whatever's in his apartment doesn't seem anchored to a single location. It chooses different areas, almost like it's rotating spots. One night, it was his bedroom. Watch.
Se escucha que están rasguñando abajo de la cama. No hay nadie, raza, a la madre. ¿Qué rollo? ¿Qué está pasando?
Something was scratching under his bed, and while some suggested the mirror near his bed could be acting as a trigger, that theory started to fall apart after this next clip surfaced.
Quieren prender la luz, raza. Esto está saliendo de control, raza. No se escucha que le pegan al tanque allá afuera. Esto se está saliendo mucho de control, raza. No sé qué está pasando, la verdad, raza. Pero a ese tanque le pegan. Ya es el segundo día desde que están pasando estas cosas y alguien que me pueda ayudar, déjenme en los comentarios, por favor. Gente, esto ya se salió de control, gente. Ya no puedo más aquí, gente. Ayuda. ¿Qué quieres? Déjenme en paz. ¿Qué quieres? ¿Quién eres? ¿Quién eres? ¿Qué quieres?
At this point, the activity is no longer subtle. The voice he hears at night is clearer and deeply unsettling. He's reached the point where he locks himself in one part of the apartment at night, afraid of what he might encounter if he walks into another room. And what makes this even more disturbing is the pattern. Whatever's in the apartment seems to choose where it stays. For days it stayed in the kitchen, then it shifted to the laundry room. Now it appears to have claimed the bathroom.
Están tocando la puerta del baño. Desde que compré este espejo están pasando todas las cosas. Mamá.
He's asking for help, desperately, but most viewers are saying the answer is already right in front of him. Get rid of the dolls. But is it really that simple? Are the dolls the source? Or are they just vessels for something that was already looking for a way in? In this next clip, a woman named Haley set out on what was supposed to be a calm, grounding escape into the Appalachian wilderness, a place known for its beauty, isolation, and deeply rooted folklore. But not long into her walk, something felt off.
I just realized this is like the perfect place to come and sit and smoke. Cause look at this. Sit right here. Hell yeah. This is my view. Y'all. A cigarette right now. I don't even smoke cigarettes. But it warm you up, you know? I'm cold. I felt like there's somebody behind me, but so this is as close as I'm going to get, but y'all can see it's like angled and it goes into the mountain. It doesn't look like it, but it's a little bit more deeper here. My feet would get wet, and these shoes, yeah, no, and it's cold. But yeah, I'm about to head out of here because my feelings been I don't know, it don't feel right now. But yeah, I don't have service. No, this is the worst part about exploring here is when you get like that when you get the feeling that you're being watched or followed. You can't, it's a little bit of a ways to get back to where you came from. Over there.
If you listen carefully, a voice can be heard quietly saying, "Hey." What makes this moment especially unsettling is that the voice sounds disturbingly similar to Hallie's own. At the time she was recording, she didn't hear it at all. Instead, what she felt was something harder to ignore, a sudden sensation that someone was standing directly behind her. In paranormal folklore, especially in Appalachian legends, encounters like this are often linked to something known as a mimic, entities said to imitate human voices to lure people into responding. That's why many believe the worst thing you can do in situations like this is acknowledge the voice, especially out loud. Responding is believed to give whatever's their permission, or at the very least confirmation that you heard it. Some say mimics rely on familiarity, using your own voice or the voice of someone you trust to lower your guard. Others believe they test boundaries first, watching how you react before escalating, and then there are those who think these encounters aren't meant to chase you, but to mark you. So, was this just an audio coincidence paired with anxiety in an isolated place? Or did Hallie narrowly avoid something far more disturbing by trusting her instincts and leaving when she did? I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. The following clip centers on a family who, at one point, casually decided to play with a Ouija board, not expecting anything beyond a harmless experience. But ever since that moment, their home has slowly turned into a place filled with disturbances they can no longer ignore. What started as occasional unease has grown into a pattern of activity that affects their daily lives, with objects moving on their own, doors banging without anyone near them, and their children waking up from intense nightmares that they struggle to explain. One evening, while the family was gathered together in the dining area, something happened that stood out even among everything they had already experienced. Watch.
What the fuck? Leave us alone! Leave us alone. We're not scared of you anymore. Leave us alone. Just sit back down. Just sit back down. I'm not waking up the babysitter. This is crazy. Leave us alone. What the? Okay. Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Come here. Oh, come over here.
It begins with the door, moving on its own in a way that immediately shifts the atmosphere in the room. But what follows makes the moment even harder to dismiss, as one of the chairs is suddenly pulled without anyone touching it, the movement sharp and deliberate rather than accidental. But there are details that make this far more unsettling when you look closely. The cross in the room, something meant to symbolize protection, is seen turned upside down, a position often associated in many beliefs with defiance or corruption rather than safety. And then there is the baby swing, which had been completely still moments before, suddenly beginning to move fast, like something was pushing it. So is this simply the aftermath of something they unknowingly invited into their home? Or is it something that has been in the house waiting for the perfect time? You decide. Now in this next video, a man decides to walk into a restroom on his university campus that most students deliberately avoid, not because of anything visibly wrong with it, but because of the stories that have circulated over time. Stories about doors slamming on their own, footsteps echoing when no one is inside, and the uncomfortable feeling of being watched even when every stall appears empty. Some students have claimed they heard whispers while washing their hands. Others say they saw stall doors slightly ajar only to find nothing behind them, and a few have gone as far as refusing to step in there alone after certain hours of the day. Despite all of that, he chooses to check it out for himself, possibly out of curiosity, or maybe to prove that the rumors are exaggerated. Watch.
Universidad. El pedo ahorita es que acabo de terminar de hacer el baño. Y pues estaba todo normal. Pero ahorita están ruidos raros. Y se está tocando la puerta, pero quiero que vean que pues no hay nada. Vean, ahí está mi reflejo. Pero vean, de este lado, pues aquí no hay nada. Acá tampoco. Vean. Aquí tampoco hay nada. Aquí pues tampoco. Y acá el lugar es bastante pequeño y está mi reflejo. Pero hoy. ¿Escucharon? ¿Escucharon? No hay nada.
What makes this moment so unsettling is not just the sound itself, but the fact that he had already checked the area and there was no one there. And yet, something moved. Some believe this could be residual energy, the idea that certain places hold onto past actions, replaying them without awareness, like an echo trapped in time. And when a place already carries stories like this, they feel like confirmation of something that's been there longer than anyone realizes. Until more students come forward to share what they've experienced inside that restroom, this one remains unsolved. The following video is about a man named Israel who had just moved into a new neighborhood, still unfamiliar with the area and without any real connections around him, when he began experiencing something that quickly turned his quiet nights into a routine of unease. Almost every night without fail, he would wake up to the sound of his doorbell ringing. Not once, not randomly, but consistently enough that it started to feel like a pattern, almost like something was intentionally drawing his attention to the door. At first, he tried to explain it away, thinking it might be a neighbor playing some kind of prank, especially since he was new and didn't yet know anyone nearby. But as the nights continued and the timing remained the same, the situation became harder to dismiss. Eventually, he decided that the next time it happened, he would confront whoever was responsible. So one night, when the doorbell rang again, he got up and went straight to the door. Watch.
Who is it? Who is it?
For someone who has never dealt with anything paranormal before, there is no reason he would have thought twice about opening that door, especially when logic tells you it's just another person on the other side. But in many accounts and warnings tied to unexplained encounters, there is one rule that comes up repeatedly, a rule people often learn only after something has already gone wrong. The moment he opens it, he doesn't find a person standing there. Instead, he feels something pass by him, a sudden shift in the air, like someone brushing past his body at speed, even though there is no one visible. It's a feeling that's hard to mistake, the kind that immediately tells you something is not right. And what happens next only reinforces that fear, because it no longer feels like something was outside trying to get in. It feels like something used that moment to come inside. So whether you believe in the paranormal or not, there's a warning that continues to surface in stories like this, one that people often ignore until it's too late. If you hear something at your door and you've noticed a pattern, do not open it. This next video captures what a family has been dealing with for quite some time, a situation that has become so frequent that even their closest friends have started to notice a pattern, especially when they call and almost always find them in the middle of rearranging or cleaning some part of the house. What seems like a simple habit at first quickly becomes something harder to explain, because according to the family, the constant cleaning isn't by choice. It's a response to something that keeps disrupting their space. They've tried to explain it, telling people that there is something in the house, something that moves things around, creates a mess, and refuses to stay confined to one area. But, as expected, convincing non-believers has been nearly impossible, and their experiences are often brushed off as exaggeration or stress. Eventually, they decided to install cameras, not just to document what was happening, but to finally show others that this wasn't something they were imagining. Have a look. This activity doesn't stay in one room or one corner of the house. It happens everywhere, in the kitchen, in storage areas, across different spaces, almost as if whatever is behind it isn't confined, but free to move through the entire home without restriction. Some believe this kind of activity points to a poltergeist, a force known for physical disturbances, often linked to energy within the home. But others argue that the consistency, the spread, and the almost disruptive nature of the activity suggests something more terrifying. But you be the judge. In this clip, a man named Omar is trying to make sense of a situation that has slowly been unfolding inside his home, one that didn't begin with anything dramatic, but instead built up through small, unsettling moments that became harder to ignore over time. For the past few weeks, his nephew had been staying over for the holidays, and at first everything seemed normal, until Omar began noticing strange patterns that didn't quite add up. There were moments where he would hear the child talking to someone in another room, full conversations happening when no one else was there. Toys would be moved from where they were left, sometimes appearing in places neither of them remembered putting them. At first, he tried to dismiss it as a child's imagination, the kind of harmless behavior kids sometimes display when they're bored or playing alone. But one night, around 3 a.m., something happened that made it impossible to brush off. He woke up to the sound of his nephew's voice, clear enough to tell he was awake, speaking as if he was interacting with someone. Confused and concerned, Omar got up to check on him. Watch.
Son las 3 de la mañana, escuché jugando el niño y no sé con quién está jugando. ¿Con quién estás jugando?
Con mi amigo Jatama.
Ah, no mames, güey. No mames.
What he finds raises a question that's hard to answer, because at that hour, in that setting, who exactly would the child be playing with? There's no one else in the house, no visitors, no explanation that fits what he's seeing and hearing. Trying to find a logical answer, Omar contacts the child's parents, asking if his nephew had ever mentioned having an imaginary friend or shown similar behavior at home. Their answer was immediate and certain. No, nothing like this had ever happened before, so if the behavior isn't coming from the child's past, then it may be coming from the environment he's in now. Now, Omar is left with a question that carries real weight. Not just how to stop what's happening inside his home, but how to make sure that whatever is interacting with his nephew doesn't follow him back to his parents. So, what's your advice? Now, this next clip follows a man who had just moved into a new apartment, expecting a fresh start, but within a short time began experiencing things that made the space feel anything but normal, starting with subtle disturbances like faint knocking sounds at night, objects not being where he left them, and the uncomfortable sense that he wasn't alone even when the apartment was completely empty. At first, he tried to ignore it, convincing himself it was just the unfamiliarity of a new place, but the activity didn't fade. It grew more noticeable, more physical, and harder to explain. There were moments where he would hear movement in other parts of the apartment while sitting still, and times when he would wake up feeling like something had been in the room with him. One night, he decided to record, hoping to finally understand what was going on. Watch. What the footage shows is difficult to dismiss. A dresser begins to shift on its own, moving with enough force to rule out something minor like vibration or imbalance, and at the same time, the mattress shows clear impressions, as though something unseen is stepping onto it, pressing down in a way that suggests weight, presence, and movement. At that point, it already feels like more than just unexplained noise, but the following day, what he captures changes the situation entirely. Watch. This time, it's not movement, it's sound. Something in the apartment appears to be trying to communicate, producing a voice or series of sounds that don't match anything visible in the room. He eventually sent the footage to his workplace, and whatever he showed them was enough for them to take it seriously. But even after he left the apartment, he still finds himself wondering what exactly was trying to reach him, and what would have happened if he stayed long enough to understand it. The following video was recorded by a CCTV camera, and according to the family involved, it finally confirms what they had been suspecting for a long time, that the strange things happening inside their home were not random and definitely not imagined. Take a look at what they found.
छाया मात्रै छ कि यस्तो मान्छे कहाँ हुन्छ किन बस्यो है स्लो गरे है मैले फेरि धेरै स्लो हुन्छ भनेर छोडिदिनु इन्डिकेटर मात्रै गरे गम्बुट लाछ है
कपालले झिम्रिनु
कपाल झिम्रिनु ओ
ओ कपाल उड्यो
यो मान्छे जे कपाल उड्यो छाया जस्तो छ हैन गम्बुटबाट माथि क्लियर देखिदैन नि के कपाल उड्दै गएको छ फेरि यो गर्दा कपाल उडेको जस्तो हुन्छ क्या अब त्यो क्लियर गर्दा अरु केटाहरु आउँछ सर्लकै देख्छ फेरि त्यसलाई नै हेरौँ न त कपाल उडेको देखिँदो रहेछ साँच्चै.
The footage appears to show a figure moving, and according to the family, this lines up directly with everything they had been experiencing: the footsteps, the movement, the feeling that someone was walking through the house when no one else should be there. What makes the video even more intriguing is the detail viewers quickly pointed out. The figure appears to be wearing a boot. That small detail sparked a wave of speculation. Some people believe that apparitions often appear in the last form they were seen in while alive, carrying over details like clothing or physical traits as part of their identity. Others think spirits manifest in forms that are familiar to them, almost like a residual imprint of how they once existed. There are also those who argue that what we see isn't a spirit, because spirits don't wear boots. I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. The following clip was recorded by Sarah, a woman who spends her time traveling from place to place, exploring abandoned and reportedly haunted buildings. She doesn't just walk in for thrills. She researches the history, digs into old records, and documents everything carefully. According to Sarah, her goal has always been simple: to find out whether ghosts are actually real. For a long time, she believed they weren't. Even though she's captured strange things during past investigations, she's always managed to explain them away. Drafts, old structures, animals, faulty equipment. Every time something unsettling happened, logic won. Until now. Weeks after her most recent investigation, things started happening in her own home. Growling sounds that don't belong to any animal she owns, loud bangs that echo through the house with no clear source, and then the footsteps. Heavy, deliberate sounds coming from her loft, like someone pacing back and forth. Almost every night around 1 a.m., Sarah wakes up suddenly, not from an alarm or from a dream, but from the same unmistakable sound. Watch.
I think someone's in the loft. I don't know if you're going to hear this on camera. It is currently 1:21 a.m. This has been going off for a while. This has woke me up. I really hope you can hear this. I really hope you can hear this. I've had to put a little torch on because it's absolutely pitch black. Please tell me that you can hear this. I've come out, but am I fuck going up there? Absolutely not. There's like a hatch. And nah. What the?
Those are human footsteps, and definitely not a rat or any small animal. But it's not just the loft. Take a look.
I've also had presents over Christmas the same pile of presents, ironically, keep flinging themselves over. And then in my office, I've got like greenery here. These keep moving as if someone's playing with them. The presents I actually had piled up here and they flung over. I will insert a video right now. I don't know if I can catch this on camera, but these have like been making a noise. As if they're, oh my Jesus Christ. By the way, that actually happened twice in this office, so I made a point of moving the presents from the office into the bedroom. It happened again in the bedroom, so the next night what I did was I unstacked the presents, laid them all down in a row in the bedroom, and I woke up in the middle of the night to what sounded like somebody opening the presents. I could physically hear somebody playing with the wrapping paper. I've also been waking up in the middle of the night to noises and also growls, like a full-blown growl. And I was sending a voice note to somebody and they heard the growl on the voice note. I also have a second phone, so I'm going to leave this lying around different places, recording different areas. And I spend a lot of time in this room working, so my plan is to set up that second phone and have it continuously recording. So if something does happen or the greenery starts to move behind me or something falls off a shelf, I'm going to catch it. The question is, do you guys want me to start vlogging this daily? I'm actually quite happy just recording for my own personal sake, but if you guys want to see it, I am also happy, very happy to vlog it and post it.
At this point, Sarah decides to stop dismissing what's happening and starts recording everything, documenting each incident as carefully as she once documented abandoned buildings. And that raises an uncomfortable possibility, one many paranormal investigators fear but rarely talk about. Sometimes it isn't about finding proof of ghosts, sometimes something finds you. Until Sarah shares more updates, what exactly is happening inside her house remains unsolved. But the idea that something may have followed her home from her last investigation is becoming harder and harder to ignore. Now, this next clip was recorded in one of the houses we've featured on this channel before. In the video, a father is playing with his young daughter inside their home when the blinds suddenly move, as if someone outside is trying to peek in. At first glance, some assumed it could be a prank or someone nearby, but the father later explained something that completely changed the situation. The blinds were touched from a height that would require someone to be at least 9 feet tall. Also, there's no balcony, no platform, no stairs, and nothing outside the house that would allow a person to reach that high. Concerned, the family didn't ignore it. The father asked his grandmother to come over and bless the room, hoping whatever it was would stop. But instead of ending, the activity moved inside the house. They began hearing unexplained bangs, objects would shift, and most alarming, their daughter started refusing to enter certain areas of the house, insisting she didn't feel safe there. Then, just after Christmas, while the mother was cleaning and putting things back in place, it happened again. Look closely at the windows. The window opens, slowly, the same way the blinds moved before, like something on the other side is trying to look in. And knowing the layout of the house, no one could reasonably say a person was outside. Now, concerns have turned into fear, because whatever this is doesn't seem affected by blessings either. The family is now searching for alternatives, unsure of what steps to take next, and worried about how much worse things could get. So, what do you think they should do? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. In the following video, a guy shares what's been happening inside his house, and it all starts off in a way that feels almost harmless. On the very first day, he hears knocking coming from one of the walls and brushes it off as the house settling, Maybe pipes shifting or the temperature changing. Nothing alarming enough to worry about. The second day, the sounds return, but this time it's scratching. Again, he tries to rationalize it, telling himself it could be mice in the walls or something crawling through the insulation. Still unsettling, but explainable, at least to him. But by the third day, whatever was happening stopped pretending to be subtle. Watch this.
Llegó la tercera noche que no sé si escuchan ese ruido, pero estoy solo, ¿me entiendes? Estoy solo en la pieza y estoy solo en mi casa. O sea, no, boludo. No, amigo, no. No, boludo, se acaba de mover. ¿Qué? No, miren, para que vean que abajo no hay nadie, boludo. Posta. O sea, no estoy jodiendo ni nada. O sea, te juro que no hay nadie, estoy yo solo acá.
People in the comments start pointing out something strange in the room, the empty chair. Many believe that placing an empty chair in a room can unintentionally act like an invitation, especially when it's positioned as if someone could sit there, and facing it toward a mirror only deepens the concern. In paranormal lore, mirrors are often believed to be gateways or amplifiers, reflecting more than just what we can see. Others mention how activity often escalates like this. Subtle signs first, then louder, more deliberate disturbances once whatever is present realizes it's being ignored. And what happens next seems to support that theory. Take a look.
No sé qué pasa, boludo. Estoy en mi pieza queriendo dormir, boludo, y me toca la puerta toda la noche, amigo. Son como las 1 de la mañana. No hay nada. No, amigo, ¿qué mierda es eso, boludo? ¿Qué mierda sos, la concha de tu madre? Boludo, no. Amigo, no hay nadie, boludo. No. De hoy se está escuchando esa mierda. ¿Qué? No, boludo, no. No. Encima voy a buscar la ventana, boludo. No hay nadie, amigo. O sea, no hay chance que haya salido alguien por acá, boludo. No, amigo, no. No, amigo, de nuevo esto. Pero qué mierda, boludo. No va a enloquecer, boludo.
At this point, the knocking and scratching feel intentional, almost responsive. Now that it's reached this stage, many are asking the same question. What can actually be done when something no longer feels passive? And do you think he ignored the early signs for too long, or was this inevitable from the moment it started knocking? I'll leave you to be the judge on this one. In this next video, a man is lying in bed, relaxed and scrolling on his phone, when he suddenly hears something shift nearby. At first, he assumes it's a rat or maybe something falling over, so he instinctively turns on his camera, expecting to catch an animal darting across the floor. But that's not what happens. Watch closely.
Loco, estaba durmiendo, me acaba de levantar, loco, estoy cagado las patas. Fuera de joda me puse en alabanza, amigo. Estaba durmiendo y de ahí arriba... Mirá, boludo. No lo puedo creer. Necesito, boludo.
The object doesn't just slide or tip over, it moves in a controlled way. Another thing is, from the angle and the motion, you'd expect the bag to fall completely, but it doesn't. It's almost as if something stops it mid-movement, like an unseen hand holding it in place. That moment alone was enough to unsettle him. After posting the clip, the man explains that this wasn't an isolated incident. Watch this.
Loco, mira, 2:35 de la mañana, amigo. De vuelta este puto ropero, este pibe se me durmió, la concha, la lora. No puedo creer, loco, no puedo, te juro que no puedo dormir, mirá, loco, mirá. No te digo yo, no sea malo, loco.
For days leading up to this, strange things had been happening around his home. His door has unlocked itself multiple times, the handle slowly turning as if someone on the other side was trying to come in. He's seen shadows that don't form full bodies, just faces lingering for a split second before disappearing. And at night, the sounds make it impossible for him to sleep, like something is always moving just out of view. Some believe this could be a case of something feeding off fear, gradually escalating its presence once it knows it's being noticed. Others suggest it may be a lingering presence tied to the house itself, only becoming active at night when everything is quiet. Whether it's psychological, environmental, or something far more disturbing, one thing is clear: whatever caused this isn't stopping, and until more updates are given, this remains a mystery.